So in this video, we're going to talk about whether or not you should put a physical address on your resume. The short answer is, who knows? So this had come up the other day from time of recording because I was teaching my business writing students about generic resume design. And here at Penn State, the business school, SMEAL, 2 years ago, something like that, changed the template that they require their students to use for formatting resumes. Now, there's nothing better about the SMEAL template than any other template or resume design out there. It's just the one that SMEAL happens to require. But among the changes that they made was that the older SMEAL template had the student or the person's name. I mean, students mostly would use the SMEAL template, but so I'll say student sometimes with the person's name because anybody could use this template. So you would have the person's name centered at the top, the biggest letters, good. Underneath, phone number and email, good, cool. On one side, on the left-hand margin, although I don't know how picky they were about this, you would have the current address or the school address. And on the right-hand margin, they would have the permanent address, so the person's home, right? And then this is a big thing with students, right? You have an address at school, and then usually it's your parents' house or whatever it is, right? The place where you sort of would get mail long-term when you're not living in a dorm or a school apartment or something like that, right? The new SMEAL template has the name centered at the top, again, biggest letters, good. Email and phone number. No physical address. The reasons, I would say, to sort of take physical address off, and I don't know what SMEAL's thought process was. I'm thinking about this as somebody who teaches business writing, who teaches rhetoric. The reasons to take a physical address off. One, it just makes the heading less cluttered, right? The heading of the old SMEAL template felt very heavy, especially with the name and remote contact info and then 2 physical addresses. It was a lot of text up in the heading. Whereas the new SMEAL format is much slimmer. There's much more white space, which again is always really good in resume design. So it removes information that is not really crucial, right? It's 2026 at time of recording. Employers are going to contact you electronically. They're going to contact you primarily through email. Some people still call, but they just aren't going to send you physical mail as a primary means of contacting you. And if they do at some point, for whatever reason, send you physical copies of like, here's your contract, here's your orientation packet materials, whatever it is, like they can get your physical address at any point. The other thing is employers don't really care that much where you live. If you live here in central Pennsylvania and you apply for a job in Atlanta or Los Angeles or Nairobi or Beijing or wherever, the company will expect that you will move there. So they don't, it's not that important to them if you are local already, right? They figure that that is your problem and not theirs. So they're not going to worry that much about that. So those are the reasons I would say to not bother about having an address on there. It doesn't really matter. The employer is basically not going to contact you through physical mail. And they expect you to move to wherever it is that you would be working. And it can clutter up the heading. On the other hand, there is an argument for including the address in your contact info at the top. One of those arguments is that it is very traditional, and some employers might still expect to see a physical address, even if it serves very little purpose. So, but the problem with that argument is there's no way you can ever possibly know, right? Unless their guidelines in the application information specifically says include a physical address on your resume, which they're almost never going to do. They're not going to micromanage resume design in that way. Generally, you won't know whether this would be an employer who would rather have a physical address listed or not, or whether they don't care, whatever it is, you won't know. So that's a crapshoot. There's nothing you can do about that. But the biggest argument in favor of potentially putting a physical address on a resume is that if you actually do live locally to the company, organization, whatever it is that you're applying to, because one of the things that employers are always concerned about is whether or not the person they hire will stay. And if you can establish that you have local ties, that there is something connecting you to that community, that's a pretty good indication to the employer that you're more likely to stay, right? Whereas somebody who has no connections to that area, if they get there and don't like it, if they don't like the job, whatever it is, they're more likely to leave and try and take a different job. But if you live locally, if your family is local, if you have connections to that area, whatever it is, that's a pretty good basis for them saying, all right, this person has ties to the area. They are more likely to want to stay. And they already, presumably the applicant will know the area and know that they would be willing to live there, work there, et cetera, et cetera. So I would say that's the biggest argument for putting a physical address on a resume, is if you are physically close enough to the location that establishing that can help you rhetorically. Otherwise, in 2026, there just isn't really that much value to it. But as with everything on resume design and the choice of what to include, what to exclude, it's pretty much up to you. You get to make your own choices. You want to think rhetorically about it. What am I trying to achieve by putting this on here? You want to think about opportunity costs because you only have one page for the resume. So what can't I fit on here if I decide to put this information on there, et cetera, et cetera. The physical address, the same principles apply, right? Does it benefit me to include this? Is it potentially detrimental to me to include this? And if I don't include this, what else can I put on the resume? And is it more valuable than the physical address? These are the kinds of questions you basically want to be asking.